morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody else in internet anime land. I am Shannen, the Anime Misfit, the host with the most, with not toast. This is cake, homemade cake, with some nice homemade frosting, whatever stuff. I almost went with a square. I stopped myself halfway. Isn't that great, Lamp, a co-host of the Anime Misfit and the CCP podcast, who may or may not shed fur in the afternoon?
Their ears are active today and hear the world and its reverberations.
I'm glad. We'll talk about that when we go to Target next week. And with us today is a man in the anime community I've never heard of until this last month. Not this last month. That's a really dumb way to say that. But anyway, it's Yourfreakinnerd.
That's me. Hi, I'm Yourfreakinnerd. Nice to meet you. I talk about stuff sometimes. Most of the time I don't upload, so that's probably why you haven't heard of me. If you haven't heard of me.
It's very rare when someone comes to my DM and be like, "Hey, can I be on the podcast?" And then I'd be like, "Who in the?" I almost went again. It's been a minute, but I'm doing it. My normal voice will not sailor. I will not sailor this episode so easily.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. This is great to be here.
Since I'm also just learning of you, tell everybody where you're from, who you are, and what pant size you wear.
Oh, what pant size? All right. So I'm from the United States. I've been all over the place. I can't really. I could pick between like Colorado, Massachusetts, and Texas, but I guess I'm more from Texas technically. Let's see.
What you do on YouTube?
What I do on YouTube? Yeah. So I do anime reviews. I've tried to transition to anime reviews from where my original topic was, which was just talking about the Legend of Korra, because
memes,
yeah. But yeah, that's kind of been my thing lately. I've just been trying to put out anything I can think of, and my pant size is 34.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow, that's like a square in the pants world.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm a bit of a tall boy, unfortunately.
I've worked at a men's department store before, and like their clothing quality is way better than women's, but they're so overpriced, man. Fuck you, polos. There we go. You know what? Screw that shit.
Sure.
Fuck polos. I'm swearing now. Fuck the polos section.
No, for sure.
Corduroy ass shit. I can't believe it was a man that made me swear.
Corduroy ass shit. No, for sure though. Man, no, I have to like do like a couple shirts a month. I can't do more than that. It's too much, and I gotta wait for them to be on sale. I went to Kohl's the other day, and it was ridiculous. I was like looking at these, and I was like, oh, $12.99 for a shirt, and that's cheap. And I'm like, oh shit. Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta learn to live in the clearance section, only for the clearance section. Like in women's clothes, okay, rant tangent time.
Sure.
In women's clothes plus size section, I hate how like the fabric is so damn thin.
Oh no.
Like, it's really, really thin. I don't mean like it's see-through thin, because that's what you get. That's what you get like at Rainbow, like in the ghetto ass part town. But the fabric is so thin that I feel like one or two washes and it's just holes aplenty.
Oh no, that sucks.
I hate it, and this is why like you think that women's clothes are cheaper, and I'm like, yeah, they're relatively cheaper, but like at what cost?
Yeah.
At what cost, man?
It's a monkey's paw. You get cheaper, but it's just gonna fall apart in the dryer. That sucks.
It's almost a good allegory to anime and how we get a lot of anime, but the quality of it is at what cost. Yes, this is a good tangent time to kind of talk about, because let's finally start the episode. So today's topic, in the good old month of Lamp, what month is it?
It is the month of technically March right now, but by now listening time, it'll be April.
All right, in the good old month of April, we've been talking on channel a lot about like Anitube and how to get people to like. In last month we talked about with Hayden how to get people to watch older and unpopular anime. But like once you actually talk about any anime, like what should you emphasize on? I mean, let's hit the dealio. When people review or criticize or just talk about anime, like what makes or break a really good review in importance? So talking about its characters, or its plots. Now, the TLD listen is probably, it does not fucking matter, dude, because everyone's got a different taste.
Of course.
And, like, some people are gonna value an anime's plot over an anime's characters. But I thought today would be a good time to really make that argument. Like, and I decided not to add animation into this roadhouse because, one, I would be talking out of my asshole.
Right.
for animation terms I would not know about. So you gotta go, this is a channel about what I feel and the vibes, man. You gotta go with the vibes.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, like, I find it really funny when people try to, like most of Anitube really talks about plot and, like, characters a lot because it's a lot easier to talk about, you know? It's a lot easier for us to just, like, dive into that because, like you said, it's what you feel about it, you know, and how it affects you as a person. If you've got something that, like, it's hard to talk about anything technical when it comes to animation because everything is so closely guarded as a secret. Unless you're Kanapa Effect, you can't really get into that. It's basically just, I mean, what else do you talk about? You have to talk about the characters, you have to talk about the plot, you have to talk about writing and all that. I mean, my favorite videos from Demolition D are all about writing. Literally, all that guy talks about is writing. So, or all he used to talk about is mostly writing. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Here on the channel, like, one thing that I have noticed as a direction of how we make videos is how we try to make a review not sound like a review and more about our experiences that come with it.
Yeah.
So, like, before I didn't like video essays on a personal level because I thought video essays were too academic or analytical. But then I realized it's not really the genre of video essays that needs to change. It's more like the people who commemorate, collaborate are all up in that video essay biz. They just all happen to be very analytical people that want to make it into academic papers. But, like, for example, when I tell Lamp about, like, you know, criticisms about a script or something, you can't just talk about, like, the plot as this is what this happened, and then in this scene the square goes to shoot the triangle over a can of chips, which sounds funny on how you do it. It sounds funny in theory, but, like, it gets old really fast if you just recap.
Yeah.
If you just recap the plot, which I think is the first, like, debate against just talking about focusing on the plot. It's the streaming age. People are going to be able to watch whatever the fuck they want, whenever they want. And I think it'd be the reason why the anime review has pretty much gone out of vogue, or the way it used to be, like the glass reflection type of way it's done, is because people can watch an anime right now.
Yeah. So
they're already going to form their opinion about it. So to talk about the plot, you have to do it in a way that's interesting. So
yeah. Well,
we need an anagram. How do you want me to call you Yourfreakinnerd every single time?
Just call me Nerd. It's fine. I'm good to calling me Nerd. You can call me Nerd. No big deal.
Oh yeah, like the candies, man. So, Nerd.
Yeah.
And how do you write in your script about talking about the plot of an anime? Let's just pick an anime. We're not picking Redo because that's too easy. It's way too easy to talk about. Let's do Eva. Let's do Ava.
Ava. Well, and I haven't done a video on Ava yet, but what I want to do with Ava, if I'm going to write a script about Ava, I think the first thing and the most important thing that I'm going to talk about is just my experience with it and why it matters to me. That's, like, the first thing that would come up. And I think, like, especially when it comes to stuff like the rebuilds, you know, because I actually enjoy the rebuilds. Like, a lot of people freaking hate them. And, you know, I don't know. Basically, when it comes to Ava, like, I think specifically, you have to talk about, you gotta talk about characters. You gotta talk about where the. So
what I'm trying to say is, would you say that for Ava, for example, it's easier to talk about Ava from its character's perspective instead of its plot?
I think, yeah. Absolutely. 100%. I mean, Ava's one of those things where you don't even have to think about the plot at all, and you'd be fine. I get a lot of people that like Ava who get hung up on, like, all the lore and stuff, and that's always really bothered me because it kind of makes me think, like, okay, so you're upset because this or that isn't explained and other things like that. And then I get people saying, like, well, you know, it's not the point. And, you know, Ava's such a freaking masterpiece that, like, you take one chunk of it, you could talk about it for hours. I really do believe that. I really do believe you could spend forever talking about Unit 1, about Shinji's relationship with his mother, about, and there's not even that much, right? Like, there's not even, like, a lot of it's just, like, the thing that's great about Evangelion is that a lot of the meat of the story, the plot, if you will, is mostly implication, and there's a lot of inference happening on the part of the audience member, you know, without reading a wikia about, you know, first ancestral race and other stuff like that. Without a lot of that in there, you're inferring a lot of things from the text or from the anime, and that's really interesting. And I think it's really interesting to see how many people have, like, just completely different ideas and conceptions of what's going on in the story and what's important, which that to me is what makes a good AVA video, is when people are talking about it and they're explaining something and they're saying, oh, this is something that I noticed in this episode, and it's like, wow, I never even thought of that. And yeah, AVA's so cool because there's so much to talk about. It's so densely packed with information, and so, like, I don't know, I get frustrated when people try to discount any element of it, even like the religious symbolism. People go like, oh, the religious symbolism in Evangelion isn't important, and I kind of roll my eyes at that. I'm like, no, it is important. I mean, like, if nothing else, visually, right, it's super important.
I noticed in that type of, like, realm of anime talk that it's I think it's for the sake of, like, plot heavy discussions of an anime. It's easier to talk about, like, something in a celebratory sense, like you just said. I mean, Ava's more of a character study type of anime, so
For sure.
But like, in the terms of, like, for plot, I feel like there are, going back to, like, the November challenge we did with Pause and Select, like, a couple of months ago.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me about how he separated that whole thing into, like, celebratory videos. The just talked about, you know, the anime as a whole and why they liked it or did not like it. And then you have the pseudo-economic videos, which talked about the socioeconomics of that anime, and I think that's where, like, a lot of AVA videos tend to fall.
Yeah.
Because, like, what bring to me what you just said was about how when people kind of discredited, like, the religious stuff in there and all that brouhaha. Do you think that, like, one reason that, like, the conversation of plot and characters of something like Ava, for example, can be kind of souring when looking at a video because people try too hard to, like, sound smart? I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why I stray away from, like, academically sounding videos.
Yeah.
Because it's not like I'm not smart. It's just,
well,
I easily go into opinion with my pieces.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a certain style of writing that it comes down to, which is not the real academical, but, like, the academical person that's trying to sound like, oh, well, this writing in this show, blah, blah, and goes into detail, even though they don't actually mean that. They're just trying to sound like they have big words. It's like, okay, but how about you actually just talk about it? You can use simple words because people will understand that, and you can put more passion instead of going into, like, these long, you know, rants about the show and how, oh, this is a pedantic theme and the characters are so pathetic. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
Einstein, like, chill for a second. Talk about the show, not about what you're talking about there.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to just more creating your product to be approachable, you know. It goes back to, like, prose, you know, and how someone writes something, you know. I've been thinking about prose and, like, how you write something out, and the plain speak kind of a lot, because I've been reading a lot of fantasy lately, and I've lately just gotten a lot into, like, Brandon Sanderson, and he's just, like, very to the point. It's not very complicated. And at first I was really kind of upset because I was coming off of, like, George Martin, and George Martin's, like, really, he's not super flowery, but, like, it's a little bit more pretty. And so I get to Brandon and I'm like, oh man, he's just kind of talking and stuff is just kind of happening. But after, like, 2,000 pages, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm glad he's not, you know, being too ridiculous. And that's one of the things I see a lot of, like you said, a lot of YouTubers do. They just kind of get, like, and it frustrates me because I catch myself doing it, where I'm doing all this flowery stuff and I'm talking for, like, hours, and it's like, well, I don't even need to do that. I could just cut it down to, like, 5 minutes and just say, Boopa good. I like seeing Boopa in my anime. You know, like, it's real simple, and it doesn't need to be that complicated. So that's kind of what I did with my redo video, where I was just like, here's the point. I'm just going to pigeonhole the argument right here. I'm just going to hold ground here the whole time. And I haven't gotten very interesting conversations out of that, because unfortunately everything was like, yes, it's bad, or no, it's not bad, you're wrong and you're a hater. But at the same time, it was a lot easier to produce, you know? It was a lot easier to produce because I was just like, this is my point, and I'm gonna stick to it, man.
Well, in Redo's case, I have a very special argument for Redo in terms of, you know, how to talk about anime and like videos, at least from a opinion piece type of channel like myself.
Yeah.
I'm not. I highly respect, and just in case for anyone listening, I highly respect people who can do research academic anime videos,
Yeah.
and who can talk about production in their videos, like the Cambino Effect and Super Eye Patch Wolf. This is coming from a very opinionated type of YouTuber perspective. That being said, it is, I guess what I'm trying to say with this point is that it is a much harder, in my opinion, to write a anime video about a show's plot than its characters, because it's so vague on how to take it. You know the audience has probably already watched it, so you can't just review it. Unless it's a show that's never been seen before. Hence I said last month, when it's something that like no one's really seen before, you could probably get away with just talking about what happens.
Yeah. Well, but with some shows, it's almost impossible to actually talk about just the characters or just the plot. Like, okay, I did a video on Handshakers a while back, and it's an hour long. It wasn't supposed to be an hour long, but
I'm very sorry.
Well, see, here's the thing. I was trying to explain. I'm like, here's why this is like the worst thing I've ever seen in my freaking life, right? And it's really hard to get that across without just going through the whole thing and pointing out every little issue. So I was just like, you know what? After like 2 or 3 drafts of it, I was just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna go through the whole thing, and I'm gonna summarize. And as I go, I'll input these little, page breaks where I talk about filler and I talk about, all these other little things, these other little aspects of it that are terrible. Like I front load it with, it looks bad. It has all these ugly effects. It's terrible to look at. It's all done on purpose, and that's like the problem, right? And of course,
it's not like they learned from their sequel.
No, and I still need to do a sequel. Like, people are still asking me to like play, hey,
or that spin-off, or the other thing the same company made that came out not that long ago about the pretty boys fighting and the thing. Lamp would not shut up about it when he talked about it.
It's so bad.
Wait, hold on. Which one was this again?
Scarred on the Praetor.
No, this is the one about the pretty boys fighting in like the town.
Oh yeah, that one. The Discount Loveless. Yeah.
Yeah, Discount Loveless, which is I think made by the same people who made Handshakers.
What?
Because it looks like it.
In the town. Was this was recent, like really recent, like this year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's called Scarred on the Praetor, I think. It's terrible, and I hate it.
Unless we're thinking about 2 different shows. And in that case, man, that's a lot of garbage.
Well, that's true, because K Return of Kings is also pretty boys fighting in, like, a town, and it's terrible. But, like, I don't know, it's funny, K, people talk about K Return of Kings, they're like, no, but that's actually good. And then, like, I went back and tried to watch it, and I was like, this is still Handshakers, guys. Like, it looks a little better, but come on.
So tell me again, why do you say that one is, like, hard to talk about its plot or its characters?
It's because it's so nonsensical, because there's just nothing going on, because there's no, like, if you watch my video on that, it's, like, really hard to explain, because it's, like, so you have, like, an A-plot, which is, like, main character has to keep holding this girl's hand or she'll die, supposedly, right? But, like, the explanation is so, like, it holds so little water that you have to actually drill into it and say, look, this makes no sense, guys. This show is gaslighting you on this situation. And then, take it any further, there's, like, this B-plot about his flashback with his sister who died, and, like, him having this thing with his sister. And it's nonsense. It means nothing. It doesn't go anywhere, and it doesn't go anywhere. So, like, you have all these dead ends, you have all these things that start, and then they just never resolve. And so you have to, like, to explain all that, you have to just kind of go through the plot as you go. And the characters are nothing. The characters are just one note. One of them's a big-breasted bimbo. One of them's, like, he's the little brother. Like, there's like, nothing to talk about there. They're so... they're so anti-characters that you have to talk about the whole thing. And so I think with a lot of shows like that, like if you have a show that's like truly bad, where things are just really awful, it's kind of hard not to, go into detail on it.
I'm going to happily disagree. I think that with a show like Handshakers, if I put it in perspective of Redo of Healer, I find a very interesting, like, what's the word when you hindsight with myself. The word is hindsight. Something like Handshakers, I do think would be hard for me to watch and like talk about because of how I just don't know where I would start.
Yeah.
In a show like that, like it's obviously like it's like a it's like a chaotic mess of like Boolean string, and you don't know where the thread starts and ends. So you could talk about the plot, but the plot is so confusing. I don't think you could make a sense or come to a conclusion of it.
Yeah.
And its characters are just so one note that like you could probably finish a synopsis about in like 3 minutes, which doesn't really make a good video. However, Redo is in the same camp of it's bad, nonsensical, but I've talked to a lot of Anitubers, and a lot of Anitubers have pretty much all unanimously said it's a pretty easy video to make a video on. Let me just go forth how easy it was to make a video about Redo.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote the script for Redo in one night, and that takes me. And normally a script will take me like a week to do, or a couple of days at least, to kind of formulate an idea. But like with me, Redo was kind of a risk because it was a popular series to rip on.
Yeah.
Well, kind of, because unlike interspecies reviewers, it has a fan base. Redo does not really. Redo. No one would mind if Redo got canceled. No one would give a shit.
No one cares. The only people watching it are watching it for the poontang anyways. They're just there for... That's it. That's what I said in my video. It's just...
Not to say that, like, I don't want to get into the inner workings about, like, Redo and stuff, because you could watch my video for that. Even though a certain unknown otaku and I had a conversation about the other day, where I did agree with him that I do agree that the main character has some leeway of like doing what he's doing. But the point is, like, just making a YouTube video about Redo is just so easy because it kind of leads itself to that type of like conversations we already have in the anime community about, you know, problematic anime and like cancellation, and it just came at the right place at the right time to just make a video about it. Now, the catch with that is, while it's easy to think of one, it's not like everybody else hasn't thought of the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's because while smaller Anitubers like myself would it's easy to just kind of, if you don't make the Redo video, I don't know, that's free views right there, which it was. But like, what are you gonna do to add nuance to it? Because saying Redo equal bad can only go so far with so many Anitubers at some time.
Yeah.
Once everybody starts saying it, it's like, how are you gonna make your video stand out? And I think that's the opposite of the whole Handshakers thing, where sometimes an anime is so easy to talk about that, like, how do you make it? Like, Sword Art is another one, and that's another anime that's easy to talk about for good and bad. You have people who unequivocally bash the show, mostly because of Digibro, who didn't like it at first.
Right,
but like,
of course.
Because I do. And then you have people who adore the show and defending from the haters, and then you got people in the middle who are just trying to be like, it's not that bad or it's not that good. And
yeah, and I think the interesting thing about Sword Art is more just the balkanization and just like the division that it's had in the community. Which, I mean, like, I don't know, like, I don't really know where I land on it anyways, because I can't even get through the newest stuff of it. I can't even watch it. It's just like, you know, I get bored, and I'm just like, okay, whatever, you know? But, yeah, it's weird, and yeah, it is hard to... It's hard to make it so, like, okay, what I'm saying is more interesting, or it's like, it's doing something else. It's like being the second person to land on the moon. No one remembers your name, you know? If you make a big long rant video about Sword Art Online being terrible, but you're not Digibro, it's not going to matter because all the stuff that could be said has been said, basically.
I mean, unless you have a very strong unpopular opinion, like my video on Sword Art where Eugeo is still, I still believe it, Eugeo is still best character in the franchise, and then they killed him off for waifu putang. That's what they did.
Oh,
and I'm
really?
still salty about it. I'm still salty about
You know, it's funny. I don't even know who you're talking about. Eugeo's the blonde guy, right? Is that right?
Yeah, Eugeo was the blonde kid who I thought was just a who I thought was a no-joke Kirito clone from like some dino DNA.
Yeah, of course.
But for some reason, surprise, I don't think his coding came from Kirito at all. He just happened to be blonde.
Very similar in design.
Okay, I'm gonna go real quick because I already talked. I gotta vent even though I already vented about Eugeo 3 times now in my career as a YouTuber.
Of course.
Eugeo did not deserve to die. He had great character moments. He's the only guy Kirito's age that he kind of needed to have a friend his age to hang out with. Like, seriously, all of his male friends, all of Kirito's male friends are like adults in their 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
And he's like a 16, 17-year-old kid. He needed a boy his age to kind of hang out with.
That makes sense.
To just bro out with.
Uh-huh.
And Eugeo was that perfect, like that perfect foil to him. He was
that perfect sunshine boy.
Yeah, he wasn't some kind of like chosen one in the video games.
Yeah.
He was entertaining to watch. He had his own goals, and you could say he was the waifu of that season.
Yeah.
But the fact that they killed him off because Alice needed to join the harem without an attachment to Eugeo. Fuck you, Sword Art.
Wow, I didn't even know about this. Like, see, like I said, I started Alicization. I started it, and I was like, this seems like it could be interesting.
Oh, then I should have said it late. Spoilers for Alicization.
But like,
at that point.
But I don't care. Like, it's Sword Art, you know? Like, I'm like, you know? I know at one point some chicks get raped in front of him, and everyone got mad because, you know, rape bad, and that's all I know. All I know is that about what happened later. But wow, they really killed him off so he could have another dead weight around Kirito's
because
Kirito's
Alice
neck.
was
another bitch to hang her on who's not Asuna, so it doesn't matter. Like, that makes me so mad. Wow.
Well, because the original Alice liked Eugeo. And then she got brainwiped by, like, an organization in the Vidya game to be, like, this super stone cold killer lady, whatever, night lady, who follows orders mercilessly. And she and that new personality kind of falls for Kirito without falling for Kirito, because, you know, Asuna's the mob boss of the bitches.
Yeah.
But Eugeo was like the only thing. I will say this: I do like the fact that when Kirito went through his PTSD like vegetable state in the game, and like didn't want to move, it was Eugeo that made him move around and stuff like that. Boy cried when Eugeo died. He did not want to move. He was stuck in a wheelchair. He clinged to his sword, to Eugeo's sword for like 6 months. He missed his boy. I missed my boy. Why'd he have to kill my boy off? Why couldn't you just make him like Yui and make him an AI?
Yeah.
Why? But no, they're like, if his data is destroyed and destroyed in real life.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just want Kirito to have another male friend his age to kind of bro out with. That was a good change of pace.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It's not like Sword Art's going to be consistent about its quote-unquote rules anyway.
Yeah, well,
I know. I heard from people that who read the light novels that this type of shenanigans with the harem ends after Alicization, and they focus more on Asuna and Kirito. If that's the heel that Eugeo had to sacrifice on for that to go back on track, okay.
Yeah.
It still doesn't change the fact that Eugeo got played.
Right. Well, with Sword Art, it's like.
This is turning into a Sword Art.
Of course,
podcast.
man.
Damn it.
Yeah, well, we can completely we can change topics. I just wanted to say, like, I just think it's funny to talk about Sword Art because, like, people, like, I feel like the authors basically admitted, like, yo, I just kind of did what was popular, you know, and that's it. And, like, he's improved, right, like, marginally over the years, but he's still the same guy. He just writes what he's interested in. He's just like, let's throw some more bitches in here. Let's get some more action, and let's have another video game to play, you know? And
at least he's not Hiro Mashima.
Yeah, at least he's not that.
if we start that thing, this podcast will change topic completely. But anyway, the point is, shows like Redo and Sword Art are easy to talk about because I think there are clashes in the community.
Oh, and there's obvious flaws. There's obvious flaws to the stories too.
Well, there's flaws. And I feel like it opens debate. These shows are easily debatable because it's something that people actively look for in Anitube. So the algorithm is already in favor of the two of them being talked about, and people have their strong opinions about, you know, hating on the show or defending the show from the hater that is not so bad.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's easier to kind of make your own individualized and special video about it from your perspective.
Yeah.
Compared to something like Handshakers, which no one would care about.
True.
You wouldn't care about it. and therefore, you wouldn't care to make a video about it, at least from its plot-wise.
Right. Well.
So anyway, we've talked a lot about, I keep going back and forth bouncing. I was gonna do plot first, then characters, but since we've been bouncing anyway, and since Ava was more of a character study,
Yeah.
then name me another anime that you think is solely carried on, but that solely is more important to its plot than its characters. Not like Ava, which is the other way around.
I was gonna say Sailor Moon because I don't think half the things that happen in that show matter with the characters at all.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's probably fair. I think a lot of shows like where there's just like there's a clear goal in mind. That's where the plot kind of takes over.
Like original Dragon Ball is like a good example of that.
Yeah.
Because you're like I feel like Dragon Ball would not be the same if we just focus on like a character study of Yanxia.
Yeah.
Being Teen Yanxia. Instead of, hey, the gang is gonna go to this location to find a Dragon Balls. What are they gonna do now?
Well, even the more recent, like Dragon Ball Broly. Broly is a great example of that, where I think the thing that impressed me most about Broly and the thing that I wanted to talk about the most after finishing that film was the stuff that happened, the world building, the plot. I'm like, oh, this is cool. He had this little, he befriended this big monster, and then his dad had to fight him off, and like, so now he has this ear wrapped around his waist, from this creature. It's like, that's so cool. It's so interesting. Like, that stuff's really interesting. But like, Broly's not a complicated character. You can't really drill into him and go, oh yes, Broly. You see, Broly was raised this way and blah, 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 and this is how this theme incorporates. Broly reminds me a lot of this god from Greek mythology. It's like, no, you can't do that. He's just a big angry dude, Like, yeah. So yeah.
I feel like the same goes for like, I know people are gonna call me sacrilege for this. I think the same goes for Hunter x Hunter. To an extent.
Yeah, sure.
Like, there's a lot more complex characters in like Hunter x Hunter than say like Dragon Ball. But
for sure.
Hunter, there are plenty of arcs where its plot really carries the weight. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Like the Chimera Ant arc, which is still the best arc in the series. Fight me.
Oh no, it totally is. It's not even a debate. But yeah, no, it's very plot driven until you reach the characters, right? Once you know exactly what's going on in the country and everything, then it becomes more of a character. Let's delve into this and that. And even then, it doesn't even become more character driven until the final climax, right? Where everything kind of clashes together. But
yeah, like with the Chimera Ant arc, like you wouldn't understand what happens to like Gon, for example, unless you understand what's been going on in the plot of that same arc.
Yeah.
Then it kind of transfers over to like, oh shit, Gon's doing a thing. Even though it's not really that deep of like why he's feeling the way he feels.
Yeah.
It still doesn't change the fact that all the plot events that led up to that just kind of led on, and then don't get me started on like the things. Don't start on the plot developments of like the humans and and the head chairman of the Hunter Association, and how and like just thinking about it gives me chills. And that's not even talking about the season, the arc right after that, which involved which made Killua the head, and that one was a little more character focused.
Yeah,
kinda, because like his family member is not really that hard to like probe. Well, they are. No, they are. They have a very unique trait, which I'm trying not. I mean, it's a 2011 anime, but that's like,
I know, but it's such a good story. Like, you don't want to spoil it, Yeah,
I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm just saying, like, things that happen really pay off at the end, and learning about his family member in that you know who I'm talking about. And how you can make videos about, like, the allegories that family member is a representative of. But I'm just saying, like, even when, like, in the later arcs, it focuses on on another character.
Yeah. Well,
it's without the plot and the goal of the series, which is to find Gon's dad.
Right. Well, in a lot of shonen series, I think it's a lot easier to delve into the plot because it's very this happened and this happened, and there's the power scaling and all that, and there's always something to talk about there with regards to world building and things like that. I mean, even like York New, I feel like has like, it's just I mean, York New is also very personal. There's a lot of character stuff happening, right? But there was a clear. This was the thing that made us come here. We have to get this thing. There's like a clear goal, like I said, set forth. We have to get this game, and that's kind of where it all spirals out of control after that.
Going back and forth. Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. But like that was basically my point. Is that when there's a defined goal, like I said, like Lord of the Rings, you know, when you have like, here's the ring, we got to take it to Mount Doom and toss it into the fire, and you can talk about that all day. You know, you can talk about what's going on, just the journey itself. That's a story that's very plot driven.
Naruto wants to become Hokage. One Piece, finding One Piece.
Exactly, yeah. And so a lot of shonen...
Hunter x Hunter, finding Gon's dad.
Exactly, a lot of shonen series are like that. And I think, like, with a lot of, like, I don't know, it's funny, there aren't a lot of... Now that when you think about it, there aren't a ton of shows that are like Eva, where there is just, like, a ton of character studying going on, and where we're actually...
Nah, Shoujo anime.
Shoujo, yes, that's true.
Shoujo would be the genre where it's more about the characters and the plot, because sometimes the plot is a little, you know, It's not meandering. The word I'm looking for is it's not complicated. It's a not complicated type of plot. It most of the time in like a school rom-com, it's just watching the characters get through a year of school, which you've probably seen hundreds of times in other anime.
Of course.
So in those cases, the shoujo genre would be more character focused than say plot focused. And how you talk about those types of shows from a character perspective, I feel like is more varied than plot. I think it does come with its own cons though. It's like, do you know what you're talking about? Do you gotta like weigh fact versus opinion? Well, saying like you think this character is going through a mental time instead of saying this character is going through a mental time is two different, declarations. For example.
Well, and I think, I think you hit the nail on the head with the whole shoujo situation. I mean, and this really just goes back to the demographic and who they're aiming for. Girls care more about people, just generally speaking. Not saying that's how it is, like 100%. Obviously, there's huge exceptions and things like that. And, we all have different likes and dislikes and so on and so forth. But that's, it's really interesting, and that's where. You get a lot of really interesting stuff out of that. I mean, I've been watching a lot, I need to get back into my watch of this, but Onisama A, I don't know if you've seen anything from me on my Twitter about that, but that series, that is a good show, and it's really interesting, but, you wouldn't think it'd be good, because the plot is really just, this girl wants to join the sorority, and and drama ensues, right? But, the characters are so good. They're so good. I can't even emphasize this enough. Oh my gosh, they're so interesting, and there's so much going on with them, and it's it's amazing. It's and that really elevates the story from being just things just happened in the story to being this it's this drama, because once you understand a character and you understand how they're going to behave, seeing them interplay with other characters, it's just interesting, and it's I don't know, it's really good. In the realm of shoujo, I feel like the viability of talking about a video, let's use Onisama A for example. You can go in a variety of ways. You can make a video about just the main character. You can make a video about how all of them are in relation to each other, and if they're good friends or toxic friends or good good influences of each other or not. You could talk about what's changed from them from the beginning of the series to the end of the series. The possibilities are pretty endless. I feel like if 5 Anitubers made the same video made a video about the same anime that focused more on characters, they would all come out pretty uniquely, in my opinion. Yeah, that's true. I think go ahead. I was gonna say the only major downside I see to more character focused videos. Well, I mean, an Anitube video that's focused more about anime's characters is gotta be, you can tell real easily as a viewer if they actually are into that show or not. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I think like you said, there's so many different angles to approach that from. There's the relationships, you can talk about that forever. There's individual character arcs, and if it's a good character arc, then you can talk about it forever. But yeah, it does come down to the quality of the piece. It comes down to what it actually brings to the table, and and what it brings to you. Yeah. It's very easy in a character-driven video piece if you give a damn about the show and you actually are caring about it. With plot, you can pretty much bullshit
like your comedy and your feelings for it pretty without no one really noticing, because you can like use a lot of hyperbole and a lot of like interjectures of like, you know, funny video editing or serious video editing to kind of pad it out. But with characters, if the way you talk about it is much more personable, and at least from an opinion piece perspective, not really an academic piece. If you're making an academic piece, then that's on a different field. But like, say I'm gonna pick an anime, Golden Time. I really like Golden Time.
Yeah.
I mean, I have some very like close personal feelings with that show. It's definitely a show that's hard for me to watch like every year, but I do still think about it. Fuck Ghost Boy. Is like the tagline I have about the later half of that series.
Man,
fuck Ghost Boy.
And I never even got to that point yet. I got about halfway through that series, but
I still don't. I could make a video alone about how I don't understand about the ghost part. But hey, like that's, as you can hear in my voice, I'm really passionate about talking about Golden Time because I have a stake in that emotionally. If you like, what's a show? If I picked like a shoujo anime, I have never ever seen, like, I've never seen His and Her Circumstances, for example.
Good show. And I need to finish it. There's another one.
If I were to just sit down right now and tell you about the main girl, you could tell that either I am ironically bullshitting about it because I don't care about it, or I just have never seen it and I'm not interested in it.
Yeah.
Not saying I'm not interested in it, I just never seen it, but that's my point.
Well, and I really don't like, I really dislike when I'm watching a video from someone, you can tell they just kind of got their Cliff's Notes on the series from somewhere, and they don't really know what they're talking about, you know? I mean, I think you can make a video that's short and that is accessible and that is, like, you know, not ridiculously academic, like as you put it, and it is like approachable, while actually having done all this research and actually understanding the topic. But I think it's just, I don't know, it's just not done. It's just not done much. I mean, friggin' Mother's Basement did a video on Handshakers, and he just watched my video. Like, you can tell if you watch his video, you can be like, oh, yeah. No, he totally... Well, because he...
Calling out Mother's Basement here.
Oh, I've already done it. I did a video on it. No, wait, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't care that I exist. Man's not going to acknowledge my existence. It's better for him and he doesn't. But no, he, like, Mother's Basement, he always does, like what you said, like a lot of the character-driven kind of stories. You know, he talks about, well, how I feel about this and that and blah, 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 and kind of tells his spiel.
Wait, before you continue, is this going to be a rip on Mother's Basement? Because I need to get ready with my drink. I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm totally going to rip on him. Absolutely, 100%. So...
Give me that tea. Give me that tea ready.
Yeah. So basically, he does these videos, and he doesn't go like, I'm gonna summarize the plot and I'm gonna go through each point and blah 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 blah. Right? That's just not his style. He doesn't usually do that. Then he gets to Handshakers, and he says, I'm gonna do this thing like the Search for the Worst, like how I Hate Everything does, right? Which, you know, is like, which he hasn't followed up on because he hasn't done a lot of other videos on like bad anime. But I don't know. I've only just kept tabs on him just to see if he's kind of borrowing from me again, but basically his video follows the structure of my video to like a T. He basically hits all the same points I do on each individual episode, and I'm like, I was watching it and I'm like, okay. And he talked about, you know, I told you about the Koyori thing. I told you about the girl who's like, he has to hold hands with, and like the dropped plot of his dead sister and stuff, which, I mean, yeah, anyone could talk about. But it's the order in which he talked about it, and we go, yeah, that was totally taken from my video. And then we get to the end, and he uses a phrase that I used to describe a character, and he used the same clip that I used in that same video. Like, I called the main guy the final boss, you know? And then he says the final boss at the exact same time using the exact same clip, and I was just like, I know you watched my video now. Like, I know you did. But this isn't new. This isn't new. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, I think even Digi called out Mother's Basement for that kind of thing, of going through other Anitubers videos to get like an idea of something, and then making his video based on that. But you know, it's just, it doesn't annoy me so much if it's someone like, if someone's just copying you, but like, you know, when it's someone who has like a huge platform and whose job it is to do these kinds of videos, you kind of get a little frustrated. It's like, really? You can't be that lazy? You can't just watch the show yourself? You gotta... You can't form your own opinions, I guess. But then, obviously there's enough differences here. There's enough that's been changed that, like, it's plausible deniability. I mean, he could just say, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know you talked about children's card games and used the exact same clip I did when it talked about children's card games. And
there's a lot of baggage in all this.
Oh, yeah. It's annoying, man. And then, I don't know, I'm trying to... It's
As
just
someone
stupid.
who has no opinion of Mother's Basement one way or another, because I'm just kind of like, yeah, I think his content's all right. I just don't have like a hate boner that a lot of other people do for him.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like that if it wasn't something that, like, specifically, and, like, I sent him a message about it on his Facebook because I thought, maybe he'll respond, if one of these. Be like, hey, did you watch my video? I'm just curious. Never responded. Obviously, he doesn't have to. He's a big guy. He has all this money and blah, 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 blah. But, people I know... Yeah, anyways, I really shouldn't even go into it, but... it's just annoying.
I mean,
it's just annoying. It's annoying when you feel like someone has kind of ripped you off in a sense, but they won't even acknowledge it because they're too big for it. And then people that I know who are smaller anime YouTubers, I'm not going to name names, and they've talked to him and they've spent time with him, and I'm like, oh, good for you. Good for you. You can forge that bond and stuff like that. But, like, I know that if I ever got big and he ever approached me on something, I'd probably be a little bit miffed. I wouldn't even like...
That would be a very interesting podcast episode about the relationships between big Anitubers and small Anitubers.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to find someone brave enough to talk to me about that, because...
Well, and it's just like, that would just be like some big drama alert situation, and I don't know if I really want to get into that. But, like, yeah, it's annoying.
This has been your Misfit therapy room.
I'm sorry for going into it. I just...
No. It's pretty cool. Here at the Anime Misfit, we do everything from an unprofessional, professional perspective.
Of course.
You gotta let out your vibes.
Yeah,
Letting out your vibes is like prime directive over here. Except for Lamp, which is coffee first.
No.
Then get your vibes out.
My thing...
Hey, I made espresso for this morning.
Yeah.
Aha!
My thing is like, when it comes to those kind of things, it's best to just move on and let go, And it's hard for me to... I know it's probably like, you're like, oh, really? That's your perspective? It's like, yeah, I mean, it is. I need to try to... It's not easy. It's really hard for me to be like... Because when people bring it up, anytime someone brings up Mother's Basement, I'm always just like, in the back of my head, I'm like, ah, freaking bastard. But, it's like, I don't even know the guy. Like, I never talked to him. We never had a conversation.
Mother's Basement is essentially your Eugeo.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. He's just... I don't know. It's just... It's funny, but,
It's a sad kind of funny. It's like, it happens that the guy's he's a butt, but you know what? He's around.
It's like, whatever. What am I going to do about it? It's not going to mean anything in like a couple of years or some time, Hopefully in the next little bit, I can get a couple more videos out and I can make some traction again, and that's all that matters to me. I made a video making fun of him at one point earlier on, which is just something funny. I made fun of him for making, like, he made a big deal about opening 5 of My Hero, saying, like, oh, it's the best ever, and I'm just like, no, it's not. I basically just did a parody of his video about it.
Hey, that's fair game.
But, and then this was before the Handshakers thing, and then he copied me in my Handshakers video, which, I don't know, could have been, I don't know, who knows why. Could have been retribution, could have been something where he didn't even realize it happened, who knows.
I think at the end of the day, when it comes to, like, how Anitubers, big and small, write like videos based on its plot and characters. I think the whole point is you just kind of gotta find your own brand to it. I don't want to end this off with what I always say about you gotta do you and be passionate, because that's kind of like 101.
Right, of course.
And I'm getting tired of saying that method, but like it's a lot more. First of all, I did not think we'd get to 52 minutes now about talking all this
I'm sorry.
about plot and character,
No,
which is good. No, it's good. We thought it was going to be a very short topic without nothing much to
course.
say. But when you dive deep about it, there is a method to our madness about Anitubers talking about an anime via through its plot or characters,
right.
sans animation. It's an interesting thing.
Yeah. With me, I just, I don't know, I get frustrated when at this, I'm at a stage in my life where, like, when I watch another anime YouTuber making a video and I watch them talk about a certain topic, I'm just like, yeah, I've heard that before. Okay, like I get it, you know. And it gets really rote to me. It gets really annoying. And it really kind of eats at me when the level of quality, it bothers me. Like, and it's not so much like the quality of the argument. It's like the fact that you didn't take the time to do a second pass at your script, or you didn't decide to just, you know, simplify what you're saying and make it more tailored to you or your perspective, you know? And it's just, I don't know. I think people need to know certain things, you know? I'm not saying you have to do an academic paper. I'm not saying you have to do all of this research and have everything lined up in terms of, like, who worked on which cut and things like that. That can be interesting, you know? I just watched a video about Redline that was really interesting in that same vein. What made that video interesting wasn't all the research that was done. It was the way that person brought the information forward. And it was gripping. It was interesting, you know. And how you do that, it's like you said, it's an X factor. So you kind of have to tell people, you know, do you be your own personal self in a certain sense. I kind of go back to that. Just make it good, you know, and whatever's good to you, you know, good by your standards, and then that will show in other things. I'm still waiting for a YouTuber to come out and actually be as entertaining and fun as Demolition D. I haven't found someone yet that I'm like, yeah, that person isn't as entertaining as him, you know? But, like, no one does things like that guy. No one does things like him anymore.
For me, like, on my channel, my biggest hindrance with, like, making videos of, like, making them more interesting to just a simple review is that I have a very weird sense of humor. So, like, when I have, for example, my favorite video on the channel that I spent $200 on editing, because I got Manmo to edit it, was comparing Kura Hasubaki from Yurikuma. We're doing it again, Lamp. I'm mentioning it again. We're talking about where I compare Kura Hasubaki from Yurikuma with a can of Spam. Yep, a can of Spam. I feel like that her character, like, I did not know how to describe her character as, oh, it's just bland. Instead of saying she was just bland, I made a video about how she's basically a can of Spam by literally comparing her in every aspect of her character to a can of Spam you could buy off the grocery store. It was great, and no one watched it. Probably because Yurikuma's a video, but also, like, even Manmo was like, yeah, this video's not getting...
I'm gonna have to check that out now. That sounds fantastic. That sounds great.
I love that video. It's peak misfitdom of what my channel is about, and I love it. No one watches it, but I'm still proud of it. Right. Like, obviously there's also the black characters videos, but I think given who I am, that's kind of too easy.
Right.
Which I didn't want to. I know we're like running close to time, but I'm gonna just say this again, because I just feel like this is part of that conversation.
Yeah.
For me, it's easier to talk about stuff like black characters because I can relate it to my heritage. But I don't want to always, like, make a video on it. I should make more, and I do want to make more videos on, like, black characters. But, you know, as I always say to people, like, I'm scared to be just known as, that girl makes black content because she's black.
Of course, well.
And I do like making black content because I'm black, but I'm also like, it's not all who I am.
Right.
I am a Anituber first, a lover of pasta second, a girl third.
Right. Well, and it's hard not to get pigeonholed into, like, this little tiny corner of this is who you are as a character on the internet. Like, that was my problem with Korra worship. I did this whole video about Korra worship where I was just talking about, like, basically just geeking out.
I saw that.
Yeah, I was just geeking out about, you know, Legend of Korra and stuff and all that kind of things. And it was...
Oh, wait, Korra worship. I thought you meant... I feel like... So that wasn't you who made that video about Korra. I thought you meant Core, the Anituber, not Korra.
No. And it's funny you bring that up because, like, me and Korra used to talk a lot on Twitter and, like, I don't know. But anyways, I'm really weird. And it's hard for me to be social with people and stick around with people, but that's not the point. The point is like, you know, I just geeked out, you know, and I was just being like really high energy and, oh my gosh, this episode is so good. And that, like... people still associate me with that. And so when I do a video like Handshakers where I'm just violently angry, it seems like it just, like, I don't think people really get it. And they're like, aren't you, like, the fun, happy guy? And it's like, it's kind of been my uphill battle since then. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard when you do something that, like, that takes off to, you know, change your brand or like talk about other things. It's just annoying. It's hard to change course and for people to follow you on that because they're just used to that kind of thing that you did. But
I still think it's important that like at the end of the day, you still kind of make at least 1 or 2 videos that you love, even if you know they're not gonna do well.
Exactly.
So part of me is going to be like, so the moral of the story is, in the sequel, I'm going to make a video about comparing somebody to a can of pork and beans.
Of course.
Just you wait. Because if spam wasn't the thing, maybe another food will.
Yeah.
But that is just me. So anyway, I think it's a good place to kind of stop this conversation for today.
For sure. Yeah.
You're freaking nerd. Can you tell people where people can find you and talk to you actively?
YouTube.com/Yourfreakinnerd, YOUFREAKINNERD. And same with Twitter. It's @Yourfreakinnerd. And then I'm also on my anime list. You can add me there. I'm more often on Twitter, but if you want to have a conversation with me, just DM me and then ask me to add you on Discord, because that's the best place to talk if you wanted to talk about doing stuff or collaborating on things, stuff like that.
And Lamp, since, Also, speaking of Lamp, I had someone in the comment section of a recent video said, I need to, people like your plugs more. So come on.
Oh,
go ahead.
Yes. So if you wanted to check out me and my friends screaming at a microphone and voice acting various comics, it's the words "of," "you," and "alike," literally. And we just do comic dubs. We also host the Fairly Odd Zootopia crossover comic on my channel somehow. So yeah, if you want to watch that kind of stuff, go for it. It's all there.
And of course, while you do all that, you should stay and smash that subscribe button.
Yeah.
Or poke it, or roll it, or sensually feel
punch
it up.
In the face.
However you want to. Just interact with that thing, please.
Yeah, as long as you give our channel a view and a like.
No, that's actually why I picked the name.
But yeah, it's that time of the month. I am not feeling well. We should probably get out of here. Lamp's gonna drink another thing of coffee, and Nerd, I don't know what he's gonna do. I don't know.
I'm gonna go drink water because I don't have any substances that work for me. So.
Okay, so bye.
Bye. Have a good one.